I'm Steven Ruderman, and this is the producer of the Morning Roast, 6 to 10 weekdays, Monday through Friday on 95.7 The Game, Sam Lubman.
How are you, Steven?
I'm good, Sam. How are you?
Good, man. We had a good week down here, spring training.
A great week down here and a great night to do our Insomniac Lunatic Fringe 2026 Giants Spring Training show.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw 6 games. You saw 4 games. The Giants had only lost 2 games before we came in.
A couple days before me.
Yeah.
All right.
The Giants had lost only 2 games before we came here, and they lost 2 while we were down here. The team looks
They
okay.
won on Monday, right? Yeah, they beat the Angels.
They lost to the Angels
That's
on
right. They
Monday.
lost to the Angels. Yeah, first day they lose. Beat the Guardians Tuesday in Goodyear.
Yep.
Neither one was much surprise, but they did win a surprise.
They did.
They almost blew it. Well, Bednar kind of sealed his fate in that one. And yeah, they've lost 2 in the last 3 days. Because they lost both ends of the split squad today against the Reds. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's so when they start winning again all next week, that's gonna look really bad on our end.
So we've got a lot to talk about while we're down here. Various players, various storylines, battles for roster spots, as we are now just 12 days away from the opening of the regular season.
First few cuts have come out.
Nothing
major though.
Nothing major. Bo Davidson, I think we expected that one.
I don't think there's been really any surprises so far. Juan Sanchez was just reassigned to minor league camp, and then Wilkin Ramos, right before first pitch day, that was announced. We saw Sanchez at the end of the game last night walk the bases loaded, and that 9th inning almost went completely sideways against who were they playing on Thursday?
White Sox.
The White Sox. That's what's crazy. Also, when you play like a different team every day, I wonder. This is something I wish I'd asked one of the players. Like, if it's hard to keep track of who you're playing on any given day when you're not playing a full-on series. But yeah, Juan Sanchez almost walked the bases loaded, and that was almost a freaking disaster. But he got out of it with a double play. But I think by my count, he had like 4 or 5 pitches in the strike zone.
Yeah.
And he threw a lot of pitches. So, yeah, that kind of...
He did get out of it.
He got out of it barely. He got the pitcher's best friend to bail him out. But, yeah, there's a reason why he got reassigned today. Will Badnar kind of had a similar situation against the Royals. I was listening on the radio. I didn't go to that game. But, again, just walking guys, bases get loaded. Royals got a rally for free, turned a 5-1 game to a 5-4 game. Giants still pulled that one out. But, again, you listen to it, and it's just like, well, they got decisions to make. And performances like that don't help a guy's case.
No, not at all. I think 2 of the big roster battles. First is going to be the backup catcher. Jesus Rodriguez, I said on my first stream of the year to keep an eye on him. He had an incredible weekend. He went 5 for 7 over the weekend. He went 1 for 3 in Goodyear against the Guardians on Tuesday. He took an 0 for 3 tonight in Goodyear against the Reds, and he currently is in the battle for the backup catcher spot against Daniel Susak. Mm-hmm. Sam, you asked Tony Vitello what he is valuing more, whether it be offense or defense, in a backup catcher, and what did Tony have to say to you?
Oh, no, he said he's definitely a defense-first guy in that situation. That's where I think Daniel Susak kind of has the edge there initially because, well, first off, Susak's a Rule 5 guy. If he doesn't get carried on the roster, he goes back to the A's, which is where they got him from. So how much that kind of, like, with Susak, with Rodriguez, they have options. If they say no now, he's not going anywhere. Susak, if they say no now, he's going to go somewhere. Susak has the greater defensive profile overall. He's looked good behind the plate for the most part. What we've seen, I haven't noticed anything egregious from him behind the plate. I think he's thrown out at least 1 or 2 runners since we've been here. His challenging record is a little iffy. Jesus Rodriguez is 2 for 2 on his challenges, which I do think that does play a role. But we've seen Jesus Rodriguez look pretty damn good on defense too.
I think they both have, and I'm personally rooting for Jesus Rodriguez. Maybe a bias because what I like about Rodriguez is he's a contact hitter and he doesn't strike out much. He can hit over 300.
And that's a thing the Giants absolutely need.
And Drew Gilbert is also that way. Now, Gilbert has missed time with a left shoulder injury. He is 0 for 7 since coming back, but I'm not going to freak out about that because the guy's not even playing the field right now. And one thing the Giants feasibly could do with him, and they feel like he's not ready, is they could IL him so they don't waste one of his options as a means to not, as I said, not to waste one of his options. That was kind of redundant, wasn't it? But tonight he went 0 for 4. He, like Rodriguez, is a contact hitter who doesn't strike out much. Mm-hmm. But he did strike out twice tonight.
It was with the bat last year. I mean, he did just get called up
Yeah.
You know how that much impacts it. But
Yeah.
I looked at him last year. He's more defense than offense right now.
Yeah. But he does.
And big time energy. I mean,
Yeah.
I do think what he brought to that dugout and to that clubhouse, he, as a rookie, stepping in right away and bringing that intangible that he brought, like, that's not nothing. And I think Tony Vitello's, he's trying to set the culture of his Giants team. I got to wonder how much having a guy like Drew Gilbert in that clubhouse. Remember, Gilbert was a big part of some of those really good Tennessee teams that he had.
Yep.
And I do think that Tony's going to want to have that energy that they had, that SEC energy, because he talks about it enough. He talks about those SEC crowds and what it's like in that SEC lifestyle. He talks about it enough that I think he's going to want to bring a piece of that to the Giants. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun if it hits. Because it can be a lot of fun watching sports in that kind of environment. Having a player like that who can act as that spark plug, we've seen him be that spark plug already. But now he's going to have the spark plug in a manager who's going to fan that flame a little bit. That makes me excited for the potential of Drew Gilbert being on this roster. Assuming that is, big league capable, which I think you can go kind of either way with that.
And like Rodriguez, he's a contact hitter who doesn't strike out much and can hit over 300. Now, granted, he struck out twice today, but I also want to mention that in his third at bat, he made really solid contact flying out to right center, fairly deep right center. Mm-hmm. And then in his fourth at bat in the ninth, he fouled off a pair of two strike pitches and seemed to be on it. And then ended up bouncing out second.
I was sitting right behind home plate ready to go on the field for that one. It was loud off the bat. It was hard contact. I mean, it was a grounder, but still, you like hard contact.
And again, this guy's just coming back from being gone 2 weeks with a shoulder injury. I think as he is back into the groove of things, he'll do fine. I'm not concerned about him.
Yeah, Vitale said that he's increasing his the distance in his throwing right now. So I don't think he's going to be an IL candidate. Which, again, when you talk about all these positions here, I want to go back to the catcher thing, and that's where it's like, I don't know. I think I would put Rodriguez on. I kind of wonder though, if you're going to go with Rodriguez, you have to be absolutely certain that Susak's not the guy. And I don't think that Susak has had the kind of spring that puts that 100% certainty to not be in on him. I think he's done well enough that you're like, I say like if you are equally into Jesus Rodriguez as you are Daniel Susak, if you're equally in on both of them, you're probably going to go with Susak because of the Rule 5 thing. If you're feeling equally good, if you feel like Susak and Rodriguez are going to bring the exact same value no matter who you go with,
right? I
think Susak's the winner of that one. And that's just baseball politics.
And perhaps even Rodriguez could use a little more seasoning at AAA. Speaking of which, Bryce Eldridge, another one of those battles may end up being Bryce Eldridge versus Gerard Encarnacion. Encarnacion went 2 for 4 today. Sam, you asked Tony after the game if there was a player who's really, as Tony's been playing a lot of guys, who's really been standing out to Tony, and it was
Gerard. I thought he was going to bring up someone like Jared Oliver or Will Brennan or other guys who, fringe guys who are playing for these last spots here. And he, before I finish the question, he goes and starts talking about Gerard. And, Steve, we're joking, before we got here, the Giants were doing so good. We get here, they cool off. It's the opposite of Gerard Encarnacion. He probably wishes we got here last week. He was hitting, I think, 190 going into this week. And he has really jacked that batting average up this week. The contact's looking good. He had a play on Monday. There was a shallow fly ball to left field. Fell in front of him. I thought, I feel like that's something you could maybe get to quicker. Yeah. But, neither here nor there. It's one play. You're not going to let it define the whole spring. He's been nails on defense. And what I like about Gerard Encarnacion, as big as he is, he moves really well for a big guy. Can the contact come around? The contact's always been the problem with him. There's a little Pedro Serrano in him. When he hits the ball, it goes far, but he needs to hit the ball. And a week ago, I would have thought that Jordan Encarnacion was playing his way off the roster. This Eldridge was swinging a great bat, and Gerard just wasn't, coming off of a season where he never really got established health-wise. It made all the sense in the world that on that trajectory that it was going to be over for him. He's completely flipped it, and I love it because I was very excited when Gerard first came on. I was very saddened to think that the Gerard Encarnacion experience was coming to an end. There's new life to it now. And so I'm excited to see if Gerard can keep it going. But right now, I think he is the overwhelming leader to be the opening day DH right now.
That'd be quite being in the opening day lineup. That'd be quite something. A couple other guys who are having some really good springs. Luis Matos, and Matos is out of options.
Yeah, you think he's on the roster?
I don't know if I can answer that right now. That's
Okay, Tony V. But why don't you just give me your honest take right now?
I
I'll accept the manager of the Giants having zero ability to answer that question. Which, let's table his Matos thing for a second. Quick pause on that.
Yeah.
Faitella did say he's kind of saying like, I don't know if I'm qualified to give that answer. And I asked him the other day about what the outfield race is like. Do you like how just the way he's answering some of these questions?
I do. Tony Vitello, let me tell you something. The guy's a quote machine.
Oh my God, he just says so much. It's like this week, I don't do a whole lot of writing. This week I said do some writing and getting his quotes and stuff like that. I mean, you really got to kind of go through and clean those things up a little bit because he'll pivot sometimes mid-sentence and go in a completely different direction. And yeah, he brings up some interesting examples. He brought up, talk about great hitting catchers. Who does he go to as an example but Joe Mauer? Which, yes, that's a good answer. I probably would have gone with a different answer in naming a great hitting catcher if I was Tony V. But hey, you know what? That's just me. But he's interesting. He's interesting in what he says. But he's very direct about it. Like him just saying, it's almost like I know his opinion's going to be. It's not like he's unqualified to make these decisions. He obviously is. He's built a roster at Tennessee that won a national championship. He knows what talent is, and he knows how to determine what guys should be on a team and what guys should not be on a team. But
I'm sorry. I do think Luis Matos may end up making the opening day roster just because he's out of options. I think he's someone who can be a good fourth outfielder. He's a solid player, and we saw when he first came up in 2023. He's a contact guy. He doesn't strike out as much. He's got speed. I do hope the Giants can find a way to get him on the roster. Will Brennan, he's having a really sneaky good.
Let's stick with Matos here for a second,
all right.
Because he's a guy who every time I think it was May of 24 he came up, or he got called up and had a great stretch that month. He's getting consistent playing time. I think you saw a bit. There was a stretch in August last year. Here's like a 2-3 week stretch. He was getting consistent at bats, and he was hitting really well.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it May of 24 where I think he got Player of the Month or something like that?
Well, I know he was first called up in June of 23 and made a big impact as well. I don't remember when he was Player of the Month
or something like that. He had a great month in May. I remember I picked him up in fantasy, thinking, I'm gonna ride this hot stretch, and then he cooled off. But the reason he cooled off is when he stopped getting consistent playing time. Mm-hmm. I've always said, I've had some coaches tell me on the Giants that he's a really good bat to the ball hitter and doesn't strike out a lot. The numbers back that up. But when he doesn't get consistent playing time, I think part of that is his defense.
Yep.
I didn't see any defensive issues with him this week. At least nothing that popped out.
Same with me.
So the defense looked good there. We saw a lot of him on Tuesday out in Goodyear against the Guardians, and that was a tough sun they had to battle with out there, and he did pretty well there. The defense is the big thing for him but coming off the bench, though, I just don't know if that's
not a good role for him.
But here's the thing: there's no else you can put him on.
Right.
So I think he's good enough to be one of the outfielders they break camp with. What he does in the regular season, though, because if it goes off the rails, another team will pick him up if he gets on to waivers. There are teams out there with outfields that he can start in. They're not going to be good teams, but there's teams out there that he could be a starting outfielder on. And I don't know. I would not be shocked if he was a solid ball. I don't think he's an all-star, but
well, you watch, he'll become one.
If he gets DFA'd and then he'll get picked up by the Marlins, he's going to go on to have a 10-year all-star career after getting traded.
And he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah. So that's just how it is.
Honestly, I would take him as the DH over Gerard Encarnacion.
There's a hot take.
I would. I really would. Now, Will Brennan, he's having a sneaky good spring. We've seen.
Well, I don't know. Do you want the DH to be more of a contact guy, or do you want a guy with power? So I think that's kind of the benefit with Gerard. You are looking for a little bit more of that power potential.
Gerard's someone you could use off the bench. When you have a guy in the everyday lineup, especially at Oracle Park, the more contact hitters you have playing 81 home games at Oracle Park.
Well, I think I'll lose Arias as a DH.
Not a bad idea because Arias' defense isn't great. And I love the Arise signing.
Oh, yeah, me too.
The nerds don't like it because, never mind that he was hitting 400 in June back in 2023. The WAR, which is a joke stat, by the way.
You've lost all appreciation for the single.
It's a shame.
What I want them to do is I want him to bat Arise 9. But
that's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, or Jung-Hoo Lee 9th with Arise leading off. That can also work. I think it's probably going to be the plan. We'll see when Jung-Hoo gets back. Probably Monday, I think. Monday or Tuesday.
Korea lost today, so
yeah. So I think Monday could be back. They're off on Tuesday, so probably next Wednesday is when you're probably going to see Jung-Hoo Lee back in the lineup. So interesting to see where they bat him there. We got to talk about Jung-Hoo at some point, but DH thing. I mean, yeah. I think with the way that Gerard's playing right now, I think he's got the DH spot on lock right now. But I don't hate the idea of experimenting with Matos in a DH role to get him some everyday at bats, and you don't have to be worried about his defense.
So if you look at an opening day lineup on the 25th, baseball, Netflix, and chill. I would have Jung-Hoo Lee lead off. I might actually have Arise at second because he's your typical number 2 hitter. Giants, just thinking about this, Sam. Giants have a really good lineup, and they could have one of the best offenses in the league. They also have great defense. Harrison Bader was a great pickup. Both solid contact hitter and a great defender, one of the best outfielders in the league.
That triple in the first inning, did you see how he played that? It bounced off the left field wall, and I saw it rolling in towards center field. There was like a post in the press box that was blocking Bader from where I was sitting, so I couldn't really see what he was doing, but it took a second for him to get to that ball. I don't know. Do you see that?
I did not see it.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe it was tough to see from my angle, so I can't.
And it was tough to see from mine as well. I was sitting with a friend down the third base line. I was sitting with my friend Gary, used to own the Italian Grotto here. He and his wife Lori, they were married in August. Congratulations to them. And Gary's been a lifelong friend of mine. Just want to give him the quick shout out here. But Bader is one of the premier defenders in baseball, and I love that move. And you see,
I think he's going to be a lot like Kevin Pillar in center field, where the play is going to be really good. He's going to look like he covers a lot of range. Probably a lot of really good diving plays that you'll see from him.
Yeah.
And the metrics will be like, nah, he sucks. And that's where your metrics argument takes some life, because there are some guys that, again, it's case by case basis, but I do think there are guys that play better than how the metrics look.
Well, the metrics should be. I have no problem with analytics. They just should be part of the overall game. They shouldn't be the dominating factor.
I know. That I think kind of goes into a guy like Bader, where the defensive metrics don't really like what he does, but you've seen
with your own 2 eyes.
Yeah, so there are certain guys out there. Again, I'm not saying this is every guy. There are some guys out there that just defy the metrics, and that's fine, because again, it's an inexact science. This sport of baseball.
It is not an exact science.
That's kind of the biggest flaw in analytics. It tries to make an exact science as something that's never going to be.
It's very dogmatic. It's a very black and white way of thinking.
Yeah, and no, there's always going to be. Baseball's never going to be truly quantifiable as much as people try to.
So you look at the outfield. So it's going to be Lee in left.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Jung-Hoo Lee batting 9th with Arise for leading off. I mean, shit, did I go with Devers the 2 spot?
I don't know if I would. Maybe Bader in the 2 spot.
I think Bader's going to be in that 5-6 spot. So then I think you'd probably do Devers 2, Adames 3. I could kind of like Adames in that 2 spot.
I'd rather do Adames C. I would like.
But that's the new thing that everyone's doing, is you put your best hitter in the 2 spot.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I mean, yeah, the Yankees do it. The Dodgers put what's his nuts in the leadoff spot, which I think should be illegal.
Freeman? Or no, it's Shohei.
Yeah.
No, but the Giants in left. It's going to be Lee in left. Or is it going to be Lee in left?
It's going to be Ramos and Lendo. We're going to break the curse, the Barry Bonds curse. We're going to have a guy starting left field in back-to-back years for the first time since 06-07 when it was Barry Bonds. Elliot Ramos has broken the outfield all-star curse, and now he's about to break the homegrown outfielder all-star curse.
Because Jock was the starting.
Well, no, we had Jock. So Pablo broke the position player curse. He was the first Giants position player to make an all-star game in 2011 since Chili Davis in 86. Then he started the next year, so he broke that curse. Elliot Ramos broke the homegrown outfielder curse, which of course dated back to Chili Davis in 86 when he made it as an outfielder. So, Ramos he broke the right-handed hitter hitting out to McCovey Cove curse. So Ramos has low-key been breaking a lot of, symbolic barriers for this Giants team. And this would be a pretty big one if he does actually toe the line on March 25th as Giants opening day left fielder. Think of all the left fielders that we've gone through. Can you even
Dave Roberts, Fred Lewis 09, Mark DeRosa 2010, Pat Burrell 2011, Melky Cabrera 2012, Andres Torres
I think Huff
2013.
started in 2012 actually.
Right.
It was Huff in 12.
Huff was in left, Melky was in right. Andres
Melky was
Torres.
in right, and then
Andres Torres was in 13, Michael Morse 14, Aoki 15, Pagan 16.
Yep, everyone.
Jarrett Parker 17.
Yes.
Hunter Pence 18?
I think Hunter Pence was, I want to say 20.
No, I think Dickerson was 20.
Dickerson was 20, yes. Then it was Slater in 21 because Dickerson was set to snap the streak, but someone had to play matchups. So Connor Joe was 19.
Connor Joe was 19. I think Pence was 18. Or was it...
No, Pence was with Texas in 18.
No, he was with Texas in 19. Or was it McCutcheon?
Then it probably would have been Pence in left field then in 18. Yeah, because we had McCutcheon. That's right, because we still have McCutcheon and Pence. So Pence in 18, Joe in 19,
Dickerson,
Dick in 20,
Slater
21,
Jock
22,
Sable
23. That's a tough one. Good get there. And then Conforto in
24. Yep.
And now we got potentially Ramos breaking.
Ramos seems though to be better in right field than left field because
I thought they were going to put him in right field too.
Yeah.
But I feel like John Hooley should have the range to play left. I said, if Barry Bonds in 2006 could play a capable left field at Oracle Park, anyone can play a good left field at Oracle Park. And that was with Raji Davis helping him out.
So it's going to be Ramos in left, Bader in center, Lee in right, Chapman at third, Adames at short, Arias at second, probably Devers at first, and Patrick Bailey behind the plate. Going back to Jesus Rodriguez, I feel like Jesus Rodriguez, especially with the fact that Bailey isn't exactly the greatest hitter, he could actually challenge Bailey eventually for the everyday catcher's role.
I was talking with Bailey yesterday. He made some adjustments this offseason. He was telling me he feels like the way he's swinging the bat right now, he's going to have a really good offensive year.
Oh, that's good.
So he's feeling very confident in himself right now.
Is that both sides of the plate?
Yeah. But no, he said he straight up said, like, this could be the best. This could be his best year at the bat, is what he's feeling right now.
Oh,
he's feeling very high on himself right now. Didn't really get into specifics with him when he said that, but it's exciting to hit that he's that confident right now. And he said, the way he's swinging the bat, he's feeling as good with the way he's driving things. And I'm willing to believe it. I'm a sucker. I'll get in on that. If he wants to sell me the Golden Gate Bridge, he can do that too. But if Patrick Bailey if he hit 250 with double-digit home runs, sign me the fuck up for that.
I don't know. I might prefer a contact guy like Jesus Rodriguez and have Bailey as his backup, as a good defensive backup.
Yeah, the best defensive catcher in baseball, who tonight didn't just steal a strike, he stole a strikeout with one of his challenges. He literally had a call overturned. It was strike 3. Dude has to walk his ass back to the dugout on a pitch that Bailey got overturned. That's your starting catcher this year. Jesus Rodriguez and Daniel Susac are not supplanting.
You've had some good defensive catchers, even some of the best in the league as backups. Eli Whiteside was one of the best.
Eli Whiteside was great. Kurt Casale, I think, was their best backup that they've had.
But they were both premier defensive catchers. They were.
No, Kurt Casale was great. it was like he was great calling the game. Whiteside was great. Hector Sanchez was low key.
Oh yeah,
a great backstop too.
But
Stephen Vogt, and the 1 year we had him, that was great. But again, I hear what you're saying on Rodriguez though. But as I said earlier, if it's a coin flip between the two, you're going with Susac just because you're not. If you feel like you want to get value from him, you're not sending him back to the A's.
Right. And it's also probably wouldn't hurt Rodriguez to get a little seasoning in AAA. Speaking of seasoning in AAA, now Bryce Eldridge, very well. And with Tony's answer in regards to Encarnacion, and that seems to be a battle between Encarnacion and Eldridge. I'm getting the sense, and I know Giants fans are going to hate me for this, that Eldridge is probably going to start the year in AAA, and I don't think it's the worst thing for him to get 1 month of seasoning in AAA.
No, I think, again, a week ago, I probably was on the opposite end of that. I think Bryce has looked good this week.
Yes.
I saw him do the defensive drills on Monday. He looks very comfortable playing first base.
Yes, he does.
Andrew Bagley asked, I thought, a really good question on Monday. It was just like, is there no longer an open question on his position? And Tony's like, yeah, no, we're feeling good about him at first base right now. And now it's just kind of about what the development is like. And, obviously you're going to develop him more at the AAA level. Do they think that they can kind of develop him at the big league level? I think that remains to be seen if they actually do truly believe he can do that. You're only putting him on the big league roster if you're getting him at bats every day. You're not going to sit him there just to be a bench guy.
And it's obviously, and he's not going to be getting at bats if he makes the roster.
Well, again, this is where the Joao Encarnacion thing comes into play, because I think Bryce Eldridge, if Bryce Eldridge is going to make the opening day roster, he needed to make a leave no doubt case in spring training,
right,
with his glove and with his bat. I don't know if I think he's done enough to earn their trust at first base. I don't know if I would say he's done enough yet with the bat to where you can legitimately say he has forced the issue. I don't think he's done that. He's had a good spring. I don't think he's had a force the issue spring. Now, could he still have gotten on the roster with a good spring? Absolutely. But in order for that to happen, you need a Joao Encarnacion's game to go flying off a cliff. And while that was looking like at a point, that's not the case anymore, as we litigated earlier on. So good spring from Bryce plus good spring from Gerard. It's kind of like the Rodriguez-Susac thing. If you're feeling good about both of them, the tie is going to probably go to Gerard. Just because I don't know what his option situation is, but Gerard is more big league ready, whereas Bryce, as you said, could make the case for a little bit more seasoning.
And has the options.
Don't forget, Gerard has an injury history too. Mm-hmm. So, everyone's saying, bring me Bryce Eldridge. And be careful what you wish for.
Other spots on the roster, there's the backup infield spot. Of course, we're going to see Casey Schmidt on the roster.
Yeah, so there's really only one spot.
And that's going to be between Tyler Fitzgerald and Christian Koss.
Yeah, Nate, we've seen a little bit of Nate Furman. No. We saw a little bit of Slivas Basabe. I liked him. He's not going to make it, though. But we saw Buddy Kennedy at second today.
He went 1 for 2 with a walk, but he had a Bill Buckner moment. He had a ball go underneath his legs.
Yeah, he had a rough night defensively. Parks Harbor is a corner infielder,
but he's not going to be ready for another year.
No, so no, it is down to I think Koss and Fitzgerald.
And who do you think's going to get it? Because Fitzgerald's having a rough spring.
I think they both have very similar springs. The only difference is Koss has the better batting numbers, and I think that's going to do Fitz in. Now that being said, I was talking with Fitz today. He usually starts slow in these springs. He says it's a very similar spring to what he's had before. He said he's had worse springs before. I do kind of wonder where he's at because I remember last year he went to spring training knowing I'm the starting second baseman. That's going to play in your head differently than, coming into spring training saying, I don't know if I'm going to make the roster or not.
Right.
So I think there's that he's dealing with. But he said he likes to heat up later on in the spring. And so I think, I barely seen him in the clubhouse. I finally got him today. And every time I've seen him, this dude's drenched in sweat. Like, this guy.
Working his ass off.
This guy is. And every time I see him, even during the regular season, I always go up to him. I'm just like, damn, dude, you're always like sweaty before you get going. And he is one of the hardest working baseball players you're going to see. One of the greatest guys to talk to. I become a big fan of his.
Same here. I saw a lot of him in Sacramento back in 2023, and I knew the kid had potential. He's a lot like Pedro Feliz. He's a utility guy. He can play infield and outfield. He's got value. He can hit for contact. He can hit for power. And he's one of those guys where if the Giants don't end up keeping him, I don't know how many options he has. He's going to go be successful for another team. He's a major league player.
I think he's got a better potential contact profile than Pedro Feliz. Like, defensively, he's better. Like, I see the combination with Pedro Feliz. I think Fitz could be a little bit better than Pedro, albeit Pedro, I think, had better power, better raw power than what Fitz will have.
Except for July of 2024.
Yeah, he'll be the first to tell you that was an aberration. I see Fitz at his best, 250, 260 guy, 8 to 10 home runs, stolen base threat as well. It's just once he gets his bat going, he's going to be a hard guy to cool down. But it's just getting the bat going, and I'm rooting for him. But right now, again, there's a week left to be decided. But I think Christian Koss is probably going to be making this roster over Tyler Fitzgerald right now. We'll see if things change, though.
Well, we got 12 more days. Anyway, we're talking about offense and stolen bases. At the beginning of last year, the Giants were playing a lot of small ball and were stealing a ton of bases. They stole like 10 bases, and
They were legitimate base stealers.
And they got off to an incredible start, a 24-14 start, and then they just went back to the way they were doing things from 2021 to 2024 and trying to hit home runs. And they only stole like 58 or 68 bases overall in the season. Like, why did they do that?
So I asked Bob about that. And his answer, I remember, was one of the not the most depressing answer I got from him.
Not the most. One of the most.
The most depressing answer is always going to be, unfortunately, we have to go out and play.
And that's when I knew he had to go.
That was, I know, that will always forever, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Bob.
And it's sad. I like Bob a lot, but a change needed to be made. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but no, I asked him, because, it was around May. They also had to stop. And he was just like, we haven't had really a lot of scoring opportunities. So we're scoring so few runs, they don't want to steal bases and lose the few scoring opportunities that they were having. And I'm just like...
But they were also trying to hit home runs again, which I didn't get.
Well, yeah, because they weren't trusting their ability to keep the Congo line moving. I mean, literally, when you look at that lineup at times last year, how often are you going to get 3 straight hits in a row? You just weren't getting that. You had to... So you kind of had to overcompensate and put guys in bad situations. That is why I really love the Luis Arias signing.
Yep.
Because that is a guy, I don't care that he doesn't do this or doesn't do that or can't do this or can't do that.
He's a table setter. He keeps the line moving.
Exactly. That is what I want. Keep the Congo line moving, moving runners up, moving the lineup along. When he comes up, and I know that Adames Endeavors are waiting on after him, my thought's going to be, all right, we're going to get Adames Endeavors up. Whereas in years past, if it's, someone like, throw any name in there you want to think of. There were times last year, sometimes it was Jung Hoo Lee, or sometimes it was Ramos, sometimes it was Matos, sometimes it was one of the guys who was called up to back them up. Doesn't matter who. Guys get up, and you know that Adames Endeavor's coming up. You're like, well, I guess we'll see what they can do next inning. And that's why the Arias signing is so good. Because moving this lineup along was a problem for this team last year. Harrison Bader, similar thing. He's the kind of guy who can move the lineup along, which is a skill set they did not really possess enough of last year.
Well, in April of last year, Lee was spraying the ball to all fields, and then pretty much the rest of the year was trying to pull everything. Again, it made no sense.
Last month of the year, he started spraying it around a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But, I agree with you. I thought he was going to be an all-star in April.
Well, the Giants, looking at the Giants lineup, Buster Posey, in an era where everyone's trying to hit home runs and taking those clownish launch angle swings. And by the way, later in the show, I sat with Will Clark today, and I talked to him, and Sam was nice enough to film that for me. And we talked a little bit about that, so that will come up later in the show. But in an era where everyone's trying to hit home runs, Buster's like, hey, I won 3 titles here with, playing small ball, playing gap to gap with speed, pitching, and defense. Why don't we do that?
That's because that's how this ballpark plays. They tried to change dimensions, change things up. The reality is, that's why I love the fact that you're seeing so many of these opposite field hits going on right now. Hopefully that translates into the regular season. I mean, we've seen all sorts of things happen for this team in spring training over the years. And
last year they had the best record in the Cactus League.
Yeah.
So and this year they're 15-5-3, 15-5-1.
We've seen things not carry over from spring to the regular season in both good and bad ways. So hopefully that does continue. I want to hope it continues. I mean, we've seen all week in batting practice and games a lot of opposite field approaches.
Yep.
So see, I got a few minutes here before I have to head back up. Where are we at on the pitching right now?
Well, I want to get into I just want to get into this first. When I was at my first game on Saturday, they were bunting during batting practice and doing a ton of line drive, opposite field line drive hitting, and I'd love to see that. The Giants, I think, Sam, may have one of the best offenses in the league. They have a premier offense. Does it bother you that
Devers doesn't have a hit in spring?
No. He's dealing with an injury. It's spring training, guy. Some guys just have shitty springs. It happens.
I think he's a guy that, again, I bring up the Tim Lincecum theory. Some guys, you don't care what their spring is. Just get through it healthy.
Some guys like Benito Santiago, he always have bad springs.
I said this when I jumped on with the morning roast this morning. Devers looks in phenomenal shape.
Yeah. So he's lost a lot of weight.
Like, he looks noticeably slimmer. Like, when he's locked in, I mean, he's moving better. He looks great on defense. I we always see him and Adames and Chapman. If you see him, Adames and Chapman aren't that far away. I love watching him do work in batting practice. Oh my God, the balls that he was just dicking out all over the place in batting practice this week.
He and Adames.
He was peppering the Charo Lodge. He put a couple in the left field seats as well. And let's not forget, Rafi Devers' swing, the way he drives the ball, the way he hits all sides of the fields, he looks like he was designed in the lab to hit at Oracle Park. And I think he could have an incredible season this year.
I think so, too.
We are very fortunate to have him in this lineup playing first base.
We actually, Buster, we have the perfect combination. We have a lot of contact hitters, but we also have two power guys in Adames and Devers. And I think that is the perfect combination to have. We have one of the best offenses in the league, could be the best offense in the league. The problem...
I don't know if it's the best, but it's up there.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it could be. You never know. The problem is the pitching. And particularly the bullpen.
Logan Webb looks like he's going to have a good year, hopefully. I mean, that dude's thrown so many innings over the last couple of years.
Makes you a little worried. Robbie Ray, we saw him pitch on Monday, and he threw, 4 no-hit innings.
Yeah, he also had 4 walks, though.
Yep, and he did look shaky at times, and we saw Ray have a rough second half last year.
He got bailed out by Chapman on defense a couple times, too.
We saw him have a rough second half last year. He is getting up in age. I will be honest, he was someone I was hoping the Giants would trade during the offseason.
In hindsight, it's looking like that probably would have been a better move.
Yeah.
Getting off the money that you would have owed him this year, maybe that frees him up to go sign another starting pitcher. In hindsight, because I was one of those people who wanted to keep Robbie Ray to see if you can use him to make a run for this year, but looking at this rotation right now,
it's concerning.
With Robbie Ray, I think he tailed off last year because he took a big jump. Because remember, in 24, he didn't come back until after August due to Tommy John, and that was more like you're not really expecting results from him at that time. You're just more like, get back into pitching shape.
Yeah.
Last year was his real first full year back, and I still think he's getting the feel of his arm again last year. He was still an all-star in the first half. He did pitch well enough to earn that honor, and I do think it was an honest all-star nod. There were, some metrics, some data points that the nerds found that suggested that a negative regression would be coming in the second half. I remember bringing this up at one point on the Orange and Black Weekend Wrap, like the walk numbers, some of these BABIP numbers, some of these FIP numbers I'm seeing, doesn't tell a very good story for the future. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Getting to that bridge, we crossed it. I think fatigue kind of set in for him last year.
Yep.
In his first full year back from Tommy John. I mean, he pitched 160, 170 innings or something like that.
Yeah.
He made a massive jump in innings, and you knew that arm was probably going to wear down a little bit. I don't think you'll have that issue this year. I think his arm's going to be a little bit stronger this year. The fact that he's back, from back in the year. And at the same time, he is in a contract year. And, he's going to be pitching for what will probably be the last contract he signs in his big league career. That could price him out of the 2027 Giants. Again, cross that bridge when we get to it. It does benefit the 2026 Giants, though, if Robbie Ray pitches like a guy who's determined to get the best contract possible.
Absolutely. You also have Landon Roop. We saw him start today. He had a shaky first inning, giving up a pair of runs on a J.J. Bleday double. He then had scoreless innings in the second and third. Hayden Birdsong, we all saw what happened to him July 19th of last year, July 21st of last year in Atlanta. Faced 6 guys, didn't even get an out, and he didn't pitch in the big leagues again. And then he had 2 horrendous outings to start this spring. He finally has a good outing on Tuesday in Goodyear, and now he's having what was originally elbow problems. Scott Boris's agent is saying that's not the case.
Yep.
But now he's saying he hopes to be out only a few weeks. So it looks like he's obviously not going to be on the opening day roster.
What I'm getting is Birdsong said he didn't want to talk to the media until the Giants announced something, but he said hopefully a few weeks. Boris, I didn't read the full Slaughter story, but I did just see the piece where she said that it's not an elbow thing. Tony Vitello declined to comment specifics until he had the experts weigh in.
Right.
And honestly, I can get why he would want to not get into health stuff because for those who are paying attention to the Warriors, Steve Kerr got into hot water when he couldn't correctly identify whether or not Kristaps Porzingis has POTS or not. He got into deep shit for that, and now he doesn't want to touch those conversations. I have no problem with Tony Vitello not wanting to wade into the conversations of a guy's health right now. So If he wants to say, I'm not getting in on that, all right, fine, don't get in on that. This is all to say that everything I think has been put out right now is take it as it is, I guess. I don't want to dispute or discount any of the reporting that's been done, but let's just say this. I want to wait for an official announcement from the Giants in terms of what's going on with him, to where then Tony comes out and says, hey, talk to our doctors. This is what the deal is. I want to get something a little bit more official on the record when it comes to Hayden Birdsong before I make a full determination on kind of where things are going there. Um, but again, based on what we hear so far, a few weeks, that's good. Not an elbow, that's good. He was asked if he had an MRI after the game tonight. Tony said to his knowledge, no. So I'm assuming that if a pitcher was getting an MRI, the manager would be notified.
Right.
And this is something I think that maybe we kind of took this for granted because we would always ask Bob for every media scrum, what's going on with this guy, what's going on with that guy. And Bob was always very quick to be like, oh, yeah, he's dealing with some soreness here. We want to give him a day. Or, yeah, he's progressing. Bob has had no problem getting into the conversations of just how a guy is with his health. And I think Tony Vitello is want to take an approach to where he just – what's the way I want to go with this? Like, he's going to play. It sounds nice. He wants to play things more close to the chest, wait for things to be more official before he goes out there. But it seems like he wants to be a little bit more guarded. There's nowhere I want to go with that. Because Bob, yeah, he's always very open with it. Tony, I don't know. He takes so. That's where I want to remind you of. With the Niners and Kyle Shanahan, obviously the Niners, they dealt with all sorts of shits and injuries and stuff this year. There's a lot of times when things are asked, like with Kyle, like, hey, what's going on with this guy? What's going on with that guy? And it's like, I don't really know. If guys are hurt, I don't see them very often. They're dealing with the trainers, and I don't always have time to talk to the trainers. And I think that's how I'm kind of curious if it's going to be a similar situation with Tony Vitello where, Bob clearly was talking to the trainers a lot, is my guess.
Yeah.
Maybe Tony is just one of those guys who's like, you know what? Players and the trainers, you do your things. I'll check in every now and then, but other coaches will be checking in with the players too. Because I think his assistants are going to be very involved. We saw Chase Tingler running all these drills. I almost wonder if there's going to kind of be like a CEO coach style now with Tony Vitello. This is an early thought here, but
I don't like the term CEO, but go ahead.
Well, no, what a CEO coach is, again, you see this in the NFL a lot, where it's like they're not really hands-on with any one thing, but they're overseeing all what's going on with all the assistants, and they're doling out responsibilities, delegating stuff like that. Pete Carroll is a very well-known CEO coach because he doesn't really do anything specifically with the offense or the defense. He has his coordinators handle that stuff, but it's all his playbooks and ideals and schemes and stuff like that.
And he's still managing during the game.
Yes, and he's still overseeing. Well, no, the coordinators call the games. But again, he's overseeing the direction of everything. So it is kind of more of a CEO style, whereas Kyle Shanahan, he's calling the offensive plays. Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, he's calling the defensive plays. There's a lot of hands-on coaches out there too, so there's some debate as to kind of which is better than which. I'm not saying this is the situation with Tony Vitello, but I'm kind of curious if he's going to let his assistants kind of do a little bit more work with the players. This is just speculation I'm doing right here. And then kind of be more of a CEO style where, again, as he kind of gets more assimilated with the game, because I don't know if you know this, Steven, but Tony Vitello's never managed a big league baseball game.
Oh, gee, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he's actually spent 0 days at the major league level. So,
and I'm not concerned about that. I love the hire.
You can love it all you want. You can not be concerned about it all you want. I am one of those people. There's still going to be a adjustment and growing process of some sort. There simply has to be. And so what I think is going to be very fascinating, this could be more long-term, is to see kind of what Tony is like this year in terms of how hands-on he might be or how he manages his assistants and stuff like that versus this time next spring and next year when he's had a year under his belt, when he's made a checklist of all the screw-ups that he's done and learned from them. Because he's done a screw-up this year.
Yes.
It's going to happen. And I don't say that as a way to doubt him. I say that because it's inevitable in this game that you're going to screw up. And it's got to be very notable when it happens for him because his background is different, and that's really going to suck, and it's very unfair. But the Giants know this. He knows this. They're going to hopefully handle it well. But for him to have a year of experience, what's he going to be like in year 2? And then going from year 2 to year 3, when he's had a chance to correct his mistakes and learn some new mistakes, like how different is Tony Vitello in terms of his leadership of this team going to look in a couple of years, where maybe he is more hands on or something like that, and then he is kind of in communications with the trainers more. So right now, maybe he's just like, I let the players deal with the trainers, and the trainers have something to tell me, they'll tell him. Until then, he's not going to comment. This is all a long-winded way of saying I have no problem with him saying really nothing, so to speak, on Hayden Birdsong's injury. That was a really long and winding road right there.
It was. In regards to pitching, and we'll get back to Tony in a minute, who the hell's going to be in the back end of the rotation? We have Landon Roop, who we saw today. Who the hell's going to be the fourth? Who the hell are going to be the 4th and 5th starters?
That'd be Hauser and Malley.
What's that?
It's going to be Adrian Hauser and Tyler Malley.
All right.
I was seeing Rizzo and I were talking about this. He thinks that someone like Tyler Malley should now have been guaranteed a roster spot, like a rotation spot.
I would agree with that.
I think Malley should be competing for that 5 spot with someone else, with the loser kind of being that swing man between the rotation and the bullpen who can do a spot start here and there. But I don't really like that they came into spring training with a starting 5 of Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Landon Roop, Adrian Hauser.
Landon Roop may be the 3rd starter.
I think he's a 4 or 5 starter.
I hope so.
And I thought Roop pitched really well last year. He didn't pitch that great tonight. He had some shoddy defense behind him. But we know how good Landon Roop can be. But we also know where he's at right now. And what he is right now is he's going to be a sophomore pitcher.
And what do you think of Blake Tidwell? He's had a rough spring. He got hit around a little bit today. He did strike out the side, but he gave up a run in the 5th inning.
Yeah.
Big kid, having a rough spring. I know he was originally a starter, but I know people are looking at him. Giants are looking at him more now in a bullpen role. What are your thoughts on Blake Tidwell?
I think he's going to be a starter. He's starting the year off in AAA, but he could be a relief option. I think Blake Tidwell could be in the relief option, but I think the door to make the Giants bullpen, I think, got a little bit narrower today. And this does impact Blake Tidwell.
Because we saw Eric Miller.
Because we saw Eric Miller return, and he looked great. He seemed like he was doing great afterwards. He's still feeling pretty good. Like, he'll be able to be ready for opening day.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. He had a finger issue. Remember, I think last spring, Eric Miller did. I think that's what was brought up. But he had an abbreviated spring last year. I think he said he got 6 appearances in last year. He said he wants to get maybe 4 or 5 in this year, or this spring before he gets going. But you can just tell he wants the season to start. Like, he is so ready for the season to start. Him returning to the bullpen's huge. So now you got your bullpen's probably be Ryan Walker as your closer.
See, that makes me concerned.
I'm going to give him a chance to see that he's got better this year.
All right.
I was talking with him about that the other day. He seems like he's in a good mind frame with it right now. The fact they didn't go out and sign a closing option, I think, is huge. I think that's kind of a vote of confidence, so to speak, with him. Also, I'm just vehemently against signing free agent closers. And I call that the Armando Benitez, Mark Melanson rule.
Well, we signed Rob Nen.
Again, Armando is when it started to go down, and then Melanson reaffirmed that. But so I think Walker's your closer. It seems like they're going to be going in with a very fluid bullpen roles situation.
Bullpen by committee, baby.
I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be a bullpen by committee. It's the 5th through 8th innings. I don't know who's going to be pitching when. I like Jose Buto a lot. He's still with the was he Venezuela or Dominican?
I think it's Venezuela. I
Okay.
could be wrong.
He's still in the World WBC.
Matt Gage is working on his new splitter.
Gage looks great this spring. I think he'll be good in the bullpen this year. I don't know who will handle the high leverage stuff. Eric Miller and Gage kind of struggled in those high leverage situations last year. I like Gage, though, because he's a lefty that can throw a mean fastball. We'll see if that splitter works out. He froze Derek Hill yesterday. There's another guy who he jammed with it as well. You're talking about that today. He's very excited about that. So I'm hoping that pitch pays dividends off for him. But yeah, so you got Buto, Eric Miller. So that's 4 relievers right there. Spencer Bivens, who I don't think you can say enough good things about what he did out of the bullpen last year. He got one of the worst hard luck losses of the year that Sunday before the All-Star break against the Dodgers, where you thought Rafi Devers was going to hit that walk-off. He didn't. And you remember Rafi hit like that 407-foot ball to center, but it was at the part where the wall was 408 feet away.
Yeah.
I remember looking, I think it was 108 off the bat. There's your advanced metrics right there. It was 108 off the bat, if I recall. It was like a foot or two shy of the wall, end of the inning. Fuck everybody. All right. Go to the next inning, it's the 13th. And the Dodgers just duck snorted their way to a rally against Spencer Bivens. The anger on his face afterwards. And I want to go up and give him a hug because that was like, I just want to go up and say, dude, you do not deserve that loss. That was the most bullshit loss I've ever seen. To see Devers crush one and get nothing. And then the Dodgers get like 2 or 3 hits that if you combine the combined exit velocity wasn't even up to 108. And he just got absolutely fucked in that game. And anyway, he pitched great last year in relief, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
So that's 5 relievers right there. I think you're probably going to go with 12 starting pitchers, I think, to start off.
You mean 12 pitchers?
12 pitchers to start off. So it's 5 starters and 7 relievers.
That back end of the rotation, though. And look, I mean, guys like Gage.
So that gives spots for 2 more relievers. Joey Lucchese's back.
Yep.
They got to put him on the 40-man, though. I think Reaver San Martin, that could be the guy who gets taken off the 40-man. Another lefty who I don't think is going to make the final roster, but they're going to get Lucchese back on the roster. They brought him back for a reason. And they probably think that they should have done it months ago.
So
that gives them 3 reliable lefties in this bullpen now that you feel good about. So then it all comes down to that last bullpen spot. So suddenly we have a bullpen with a lot of up in the air to a bullpen with like a lot of guys who we saw have success with this team at various points last year. So could Blade Tidwell get that last bullpen spot? It could be Trevor McDonald. It could be Michael Fulmer. It could be JT Brubaker.
I'd rather see Tidwell as a starter, to be honest.
I like to see Tidwell and McDonald as a starter, so that's why I'd like to see them start off in AAA.
Same here.
I think it's between Brubaker and Fulmer to get those last 2 relief spots right now. It's a bullpen of question marks. I don't think that means it's a bad bullpen. I think it just means that it's a bullpen where
it's going to have to prove itself, though, because I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling great about the bullpen, and I don't mean any disrespect to the guys you mentioned, but they're not exactly lights out guys. They are guys who, despite
there's guys that they've all shown
their
moments
successes, but have also had their struggles.
Exactly. They've all shown moments where they've been great. They've all shown moments when they have limitations. And so I really worry because managing a bullpen at the big league level is hard.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be a big test for Tony.
Because managing a college bullpen is very different than managing a professional bullpen.
With Buster hiring Tony, we were having a bit of an argument about this the other day. So there are basically 4 stages for a team. All out win now, retooling, rebuilding, tanking.
Yes.
Last 2021 was, it was
a fluke.
2021 will always hold a special place in my heart. One of my favorite seasons ever, but it may have been the biggest fluke season in the history of the game.
Yes.
But it was also the worst thing that could have happened to this team because it made Farhan and company think, okay, we're in win now mode.
It made them think that they'd skipped a couple steps. And I think everyone at the time knew, I treated 2021 not as the start of something new, but a preview of what was to come. Like I figured, it would probably take a step back in 2022, 2023. Then they needed to get their guys in, their prospects in. And what that told me is that when they do get their guys in, this could be a reality. 2021 was just a preview of what was to come.
Well,
and then they never seized on that, and the rest is history.
But they were in win now mode.
Right.
Each of the last 4 years, and I hate to say this.
Well, no, that's what they should have looked at. That, to your point, though, 2021, I think what ended up happening is instead of them thinking our process does work and will work, it got them thinking our process is full go right now.
Yeah.
And which makes no sense that they fucking let Kevin Gausman go.
That could have changed. That you're looking at least 1 or 2 playoff appearances over the last 4 years with Gausman.
Farhan and Cap are probably still here.
And
if they kept Gausman.
And the thing is, too, what I was going to say is that I hate to say this, Giants fans can hate me all they want for this. I think the collapse last year needed to happen because it was the third time in 4 years in which they were double digits over 500 and went all the way down to under 500. And I think it needed to happen because that's when Buster Posey realized, okay, this is not an all-out win-now team. We're going to need to rebuild the farm system a little bit, as you would call it, Sam, a retooling. And so we got Buster turned what was the 28th highest farm system into the 18th. Still could get higher. But it looks like Buster has a long-term goal with this team, and I think what he's doing is when you look at guys in the minors, you look at Gavin Keelan, however you say it, the first-round draft pick last year. You're looking at Joshua Gonzalez, and there are some other guys down in the minor leagues, and like with a lot of the trades and a lot of the free agent signings, these are small ball contact guys who can hit 300 and don't strike out much. Buster has a real long-term vision for this team, which is what I love. And I think what Buster's thinking is, I'm going to get a new crop of guys ready for 2029, and then I'm going to compete with this current group for the next 3 years. And I think Tony Vitello is the long-term guy.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
I think he has that in mind when he was hiring Tony Vitello, and I think Tony Vitello...
Well, obviously, yeah, I don't think he was hiring Tony Vitello for a 1 to 2 year stopgap. Like, Buster, this is where the risk with Tony it manifests in the fact that, Buster is obviously, this is the first time at this. It's tough being a first-time executive like this. But he inherited Bob Melvin. Now, he gave it the old college try with Bob Melvin, which I appreciate that he did. But this is the kind of hire that is going to make or break whether or not Buster is actually cut out for this job. That's why there's a little bit of concern for me, because this is a massively risky move that Buster is.
It's unprecedented what he did.
Exactly. And it's unprecedented, and that's what makes it so risky. Now, risk does not mean guarantee for failure. Risk does not mean bad. Risk just means that there's no rule book here. There's no playbook. It's never happened before. This is all the first time any of this is happening. So you don't know. There is no playbook. You're just kind of going off of it. If you've been an executive in this game for 20 plus years, it's probably easier for you to handle a situation where you're kind of sailing in the uncharted waters, because you have 20 years of how this game works to kind of help you navigate an ocean that no one's been in.
Right.
Buster doesn't have that. Now, Buster's a smart baseball player. He knows this game inside and out. But I do believe there is a difference between being in this game as a player
and as an executive,
being in this game as a manager, and being in this game as an executive.
But what I do like is that Buster does have a real long-term vision, which I don't think Farhan really had. And again,
and they're going to need, let's think, they're going to need this vision to come through. And what's going to happen is Buster is going to need to nail all of his draft picks. They're going to need to legitimately build his farm system up. And it's going to have to bear fruit, or else this is going to go south. And if it doesn't work out with Vitello, it's going to be tough for Buster to keep holding on to this job. And I would hate to see Buster go down what happened with Chris Mullin when he was GM of the Warriors, when a longtime fan favorite and Hall of Famer had their reputation not ruined, but it was a dark mark on it. There was a bludgeon there. And Chris Mullin's still beloved by the Warriors fans now, but there was a time when he was the failed general manager of the Warriors. And I would hate to have that, I would hate to say that Buster Posey's legacy includes the title failed president of baseball operations for the Giants. It's not going to keep him out of Hall of Fame. We're not taking down any of the championship banners because of it. He's always going to be welcome and beloved at Oracle Park for all eternity.
But it is something that could be somewhat of a mark. I don't think especially with the long-term vision, the fact that he's really focused on the farm system, and I've talked about this, which is the last 4 years, the Giants were all out, win now, win now, win now, win now, which is, I think right now they're focusing just as much. I think the farm system right now is the overall long-term priority.
I think the Giants are still in win now mode. I think they're, because baseball, we give Joe Lacob shit for the 2 timelines with the Warriors. I think baseball is a lot easier to have 2 timelines, because with basketball, you have your NBA team and then you got your G League team.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to bring up young talent in the NBA, when you have young draft picks like James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, and Moses Moody, you don't stash them in the G League.
Yeah.
Those are guys, when they're drafted in the top 15, those fuckers are ready to play right now. Baseball, the number one, with baseball, the number one draft pick, 9 times out of 10, you're not seeing them for 3 years.
Yeah.
At the big league level. So you can build a winning team at the big league level now while also stockpiling young talent in your minor leagues for years to come. Now you make the argument of, you should have the 5th draft pick versus the 17th draft pick. Sure, that is something to be said about that. I also think that the amount of value that the number 5 pick has in the NFL versus the number 5 pick in Major League Baseball versus the number 17 pick in the NFL versus the number 17 pick in the Major League Baseball to the 133rd pick in the NFL versus the 133rd pick in Major League Baseball. The values of those draft picks are all so different. So, I honestly think the team that's drafting at number 5 and a team that has the 133rd overall draft pick,
yeah,
it's not 50-50, but you could just as easily get a better career out of 133 than you will out of number 5.
Yeah.
I think the odds of 133 being better than 5 in Major League Baseball are greater than, say, the NFL, where number 5, you're expecting an all-pro. 133, you're expecting a role player. And very rarely is 133 better than 5. So, basically, that's all to say. Cody Bellinger was a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols was a 10th-round pick. Aaron Judge was drafted after Christian Arroyo. You could find so many great, talented baseball players. It's a great example of this actually is the Milwaukee Brewers. You know who the highest draft pick on the Milwaukee Brewers is?
Who?
Sal Frelick. He's the 15th overall pick. Jacob Mizorowski, who everyone was jerking themselves off to last year, he's Paul Skeens 2.0, 2nd-round pick. Every team in baseball had a chance to draft him. Some teams might have had a chance to draft him twice. And so, the whole thing, and this is an argument I have with Joe Shasky all the time with high draft picks and stuff like that. I think with baseball, yes, you want a high draft pick, sure. But you can build a great farm system with the 29th pick in the draft. You want to know how I know this? Because the Dodgers have a fucking immaculate farm system.
Yep.
And when's the last time they drafted, in a position that didn't start with a 2?
Well, what I mean by win now is you're just the long-term focus are we've got the team we want and we're in it for the long haul with this group of guys. That's what I mean by win now. And I think the collapse last year made him realize, okay.
I think that's a subset of win now. I think there's a win now and then there's an all-in. Giants want to win now, but
so maybe the win
they're not trading any of their
prospects.
Bryce Eldridge, Josar Gonzalez
are untouchable.
Goes like that. Guys of that level. Blade Tidwell's of the world. Carson Wisenheim. Yeah, you're not getting your hands on those guys.
Yeah. So a retooling.
So they're not going all in, but I think Buster showed this last year.
Last year they were.
He'll make a move to bring in a bat like he did with Rafi Devers. He's not afraid to make a move and deal for some prospects. I think he struck when the iron was hot. He got a buy low move there. Hopefully James Tibbs doesn't pan out with the Dodgers. But, he'll make moves. That being said, the Giants are in contention at the deadline this year. I expect Buster to make a move. Now, will he give up top-tier prospects?
God, I hope not.
It depends. I don't know. If they're chugging along and they're somehow in first place over the Dodgers and, there's a guy out there, I don't know who's going to be available at the deadline right now, but if there's a big name out there that could really kind of put them over the top, maybe they, get them a better outfield option or a starting pitching option. What if the Tigers just completely shit the bed and decide to shop Tarek Skubal?
Right.
If the Tigers call you up and say, hey, we're shopping Tarek Skubal, give me Josar Gonzalez and Carson Wisenhunt, and we'll give you 2 months of Tarek Skubal and the right to negotiate a new deal with him before anybody else.
Well, here's the question.
No, are you doing?
I'm not sure I would do that.
I would do that.
Now, who's the Giants' other? The Giants signed another guy from Latin America, a shortstop, over the offseason.
Oh, I'm not remembering that name.
And I forget who he is, but he would be someone I would be more open to trading.
Again, honestly, if the Giants are in first place, or bound Dodgers first place, the Tigers say Tarek Skubal for Bryce Eldridge.
That one I would do.
I would do that too. I am going with the proven commodity over the prospect right now. Because we did this with Juan Soto, We did this with Shohei Ohtani. We said you can't trade Kyle Harrison for Juan Soto. We said you can't trade Mark Luciano for Shohei Ohtani.
Or Aaron Judge.
You know, like, Aaron Judge is free agent signing. But, like, we were all told you can't do that. And now,
some people were suggesting Luciano for Aaron Judge in 2021.
Either way, like, that was what we're saying. They were banging on table 22. We can't trade a package of Kyle Harrison for Juan Soto. Would the Padres have accepted it? I don't know. I'll say this. If the Giants had made that trade, probably would have worked out really well for them. Now, granted, I don't know if they still get Rafi Devers later on, but you also would have fucking had Juan Soto.
The reason I'm okay with trading Eldridge is because Eldridge was drafted by the Farhan regime. Gonzalez is the one who is the kind of guy who fits the mold of what Buster wants for the future, which is your small ball defense guy. Eldridge is a slugger. I would trade Eldridge.
If you have a situation where you have to do Tarek School for Josar Gonzalez, I'm doing that.
I'm not, but I would for Eldridge.
Because, well, what if you have 2 months to lock Scooble up for long term? You have the best pitcher in baseball.
All right, that's a fair point.
For the next 6, 7, 8 years. Like, over a shortstop who is 4 years away from making the big leagues, 7 years away from being an impact player. Like, that's where I think if Buster's confronted with that situation, then yeah, I think again, this is such a wild hypothetical. The odds of this happening are very
because the Tigers are probably going to be good.
Well, yeah, again, I'm using them as an example. But you know what? The other one, it probably won't happen this year, but when it does happen, the Tigers are going to trade Paul Skeens. Not the Tigers. The Pirates are going to trade Paul Skeens. He is not going to hit free agency with the Pirates. He's going to hit arbitration soon. At some point, they are going to move him. If I'm Buster Posey, the second that you see the for sale sign on Paul Skeens, that's a guy you empty a war chest for. That's a situation where whatever the plan is, if you're going to be a good executive in this league, you got to know when to blow up your plan for something better. And if I have a chance to
I'm not blowing up my plan for one guy.
If I have a chance to turn Gonzalez and Wisenhunt
maybe for Scooble and Skeens, maybe.
No, if I have a chance to I don't know who the top
I'm not going to blow up my entire plan for one guy. Maybe for
if it's Paul Skeens, yeah, you do that.
What if it's Paul Skeens, Logan Webb, and no one else in the rotation?
Well, you're not going to have that because you got Landon Roop. He's still going to be going.
And Landon Roop is not exactly an all-star.
Yeah, but he's a good 3-starter.
If he's your 3-starter, that's why I feel like this.
Luis Hernandez, that's the guy you were thinking of.
Yep, he's a guy I'd be willing to deal.
Well, let's see. If you got Josar Gonzalez, Johnny Lovell, Gavin Klein, Kevin Killian, Dakota Jordan. No, we saw Dakota Jordan at the Scandinavian Day. Bo Davidson. I guess Carson Wisenhunt.
I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't blow up the farm, but I would be willing to trade a top prospect or two as long as you keep. Because you do, Sam, you really do need to keep that farm system intact.
Dude, Paul Skeens is like 24 years old.
Okay, I get it. Hold on.
He's as old.
Okay, I get it. But you don't need. You can trade for him while still holding on to some top prospects.
Yeah, remember we said that about Mark Luciano?
No, I'm not.
No, again, this is the thing. When you have a chance to get a sure thing, when you have it's the Peter Griffin of the mystery box.
But make sure you have other prospects so you don't blow up the farm. You want to keep the farm.
No, you're not trading everything. You're still going to have some, but like honestly, if they wanted Josar Gonzalez and Johnny Lovell for Paul Skeens, it's probably going to take more, but fuck yeah. If that's where it starts.
And Skeens is 24, right?
24, 20. He's young enough to where he could still basically be a prospect in some really slow development.
All right, that is because I wanted Buster to draft Kyson Witherspoon.
You're not going to. It helps their second, third, and fourth best prospects are all shortstops. But like
Luis Hernandez, I would trade him.
If the Tigers called up and said, "Give me Gonzalez, Killen, and Dakota Jordan," again, that's your 2, your 5, and your 6. Yeah, for Skeens, I would do that. And then
and with the fact that you have Luis Hernandez there, that would make me more comfortable.
Lock him in. Honestly, I'll just know. But yeah, your 2, your 5, your 6 guys. But then I would acquire Skeens and I would lock him into a forever contract.
But what I'm saying is don't blow up the future plan for one guy.
I think Paul Skeens is a guy you blow up because Paul Skeens is good. None of those prospects that you're talking about are in any way, shape, or form
proven. Right, they're not proven.
So
I get that.
It's Peter Griffin in the mystery box. Like over here you got Paul Skeens. He's the perfect pitcher. He can carry a team.
He's the boat.
Over here, you got the mystery box. It can be anything.
Who can resist the call of the box?
Yeah, I mean, it can be anything. It can even be on Paul Skeens. So that's like, again, I took your stance with Kyle Harrison on Juan Soto in 22. It was wrong. I took your stance with Marco Luciano when it was potentially Shohei Ohtani in 2023. When you knew for a fucking fact if the Giants had acquired Shohei in 23, that dude was not going to spend 1 second listening to an offer to stay in 2024. It still would have been fun to have Shohei for 2 months on that 2023 team. I don't know, maybe Gabe Kapler.
Yeah, and it would be, and I would only make this move knowing that we can lock the Skubal and or Skeens down long term.
Since then, I mean, would the Giants have really regretted those deals if they made them? Again, they honestly, Kyle Harrison could have easily been Mason Black last year.
Kyle Harrison still has some potential
in that Rafi Devers trade. So no, but if the Giants had made a Kyle Harrison and others trade for Juan Soto, or a Marco Luciano trade and others trade for Shohei Ohtani, do you honestly think that they're regretting that trade right now?
Probably not.
Probably not. If a situation comes along where a Tarek Skubal or a Paul Skeens are on the table and you have the chance to get them,
trade some prospects, but don't blow up your entire future.
You might have to. I mean, again, I don't think there's a trade out there. What do you consider blowing up the whole?
Like getting rid of all your top prospects.
No one's going to do that. All right. Juan Soto didn't even take that much. Like Juan Soto didn't even take their top five, all their top fives. You're not going to trade all five your top five prospects for one person.
But if you are going to also make those trades for Skubal and Skeens, two things have to happen. You got to lock them down long term.
Yep.
And you've got to have other pitchers and a good team around them that are in it for the long haul.
Again, if you have a situation, this is a hypothetical, where you have Logan Webb locked in long term, see what Landon Root becomes. If you still hold him Carson Whisenhunt, I don't know. I don't think Trevor McDonald's going to be in any big trade talks. I think he could be a good pitcher. And again, you're the Giants. You have money. Sign someone.
Exactly.
But
I'm not sure. I'm not putting that much faith.
If you have
in
a rotation
I'm just not
of Webb and Skeens, the other three are going to fall in line pretty easily.
Now the thing is, the Pirates are actually on the upswing, and they could even be competitive this year, or at least in the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, yeah, but eventually Skeens going to hit arbitration.
Now, if the Pirates... Here's the thing with all the owners, Sam. If they wanted to put a consistent winner on the team, they could, and that would draw fans. And you never know. The Pirates have actually built a good farm system in recent years. They look like they're ripe. And you could see a thing where maybe they win the World Series in 28, and you have fans packing PNC Park, one of the best ballparks in baseball, on a nightly basis come 2029, and then they do have that money to make the long-term extension for Paul Skeens.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you lie to yourself, sure, it's certainly possible.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying it's possible. And if we're making the Skeens and Skubal trades, make sure there are other guys and not just Landon Roop, because Landon Roop is not a third starter. And make sure you know for sure that you can lock these guys down long term. So how old is Skeens?
He is 23.
And how old is Skubal?
Skubal's actually a little bit older. I think he's 28.
Okay. I wouldn't trade Gonzalez for Skubal. I would trade Gonzalez for Skeens. How's that? I would trade Eldridge for Skubal. I would maybe trade Luis Hernandez for Skubal. Not trading Joshua Gonzalez for Skubal. I would trade Joshua Gonzalez for Paul Skeens. Because Skeens is younger, and Skeens is someone who could be here for 15 years.
Hold on, let's see here. All right, looking up Skeens. Where is he? Paul Skeens. God, he's making paltry $820,000 this year. My God, he's got Livy Dunn to mooch off of until he signs his deal.
Was she famous?
Yeah, the LSU gymnast.
Lucky guy.
So this is actually his first ARB1 is next year. So yeah, that could he's ARB. This is last year of pre-arbitration control. So
I would trade Gonzalez for Skeens.
This winter, Paul Skeens is up for arbitration 1. Next year, arbitration 2, 3. So yeah, that shit's gonna be hitting the fan really soon. And I get Buster has a plan, but if there's a chance where he has to scuttle that plan to pick up.
Don't scuttle the whole plan.
No, I would scuttle it for Paul Skeens. I gotta go.
Don't scuttle the whole plan, but I would trade Joshua Gonzalez for Skeens. That one I would do.
You got me ready to do that. Maybe add some more on that. Good stuff, dude. I gotta go pack.
Sam Lubman. Morning Roast, 6 to 10, Monday through Friday on 95.7 The Game. You got to take your camera stand.
Yes.
And I got to put my camera on something else.
You know what? Hold on to it for the night. In the
morning. Why don't you just take it because it's already off and I don't want to reset it.
Okay.
And I don't want to have that be my responsibility.
All right.
Sam Lubman, everyone. 6 to 10 weekdays on 95.7 The Game, the Morning Roast. Sam, thank you, my friend. It means a lot for you to do this. All right. So, yeah, I'm not blowing up the entire plan, but I would get rid of a top prospect or two for Skeens. I wouldn't trade Gonzalez for Skubal, but I would for Skeens. All right. So, being in spring training, I got a chance to talk to a couple guys, and I got an interview today that I have always wanted, and Sam was nice enough to film it and lend me his little portable microphones. I'm going to buy a couple of those when I get back. But anyway, I got to I did two interviews, and the first one was with a man who I sincerely believe is one of the greatest hitters ever and should be in baseball's Hall of Fame, Will Clark. I hope you all can take a listen.
Whenever you guys are ready.
All right. I have a guest who I've wanted for a long time. We got Will the Thrill.
Will the Thrill. Yeah, we got down here to spring training a few days ago, get a chance to watch the team, meet all the new guys, meet the coaching staff, and see some baseball, get that blood flowing again.
Get that blood flowing. New year, fresh, clean, new slate, 0-0. What is this one of your favorite times of the year?
Yeah, it was always a favorite time when I was playing, and it's definitely a favorite time now because, it's a more of a relaxed atmosphere. The players themselves have to do a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have to get done on the field, but yet at the same time, it's relaxed to where you can interact with the fans and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
So how is it working with Tony Vitello and his coaching staff?
You know what? It's been good. I got a chance to meet, all the new coaches and, listen to some of his theories on things. Also doing a lot of work early on the field and what the guys are working on. And, it's been a pleasure so far.
And, talking about theories and whatnot, I've seen you and Eric Burns on your podcast, and you guys talk about, unfortunately, what's happened in the game and a lot of launch angle and guys trying to hit home runs instead of hitting 300. Hunter Mentz is coming in, and he's emphasizing small ball. When I was here first year Saturday, I noticed a lot of guys were bunting at first and then lining the opposite way. I'm sure that makes you happy to see.
Well, with that gives Tony options, especially in close games, is to bunt to get runners in scoring position, and then after that, do a better job of driving in runs, not looking for the home run all the time. If you drive in runs and you keep the line moving, you can put a crooked number up on the board pretty quick. So I'm really enjoying that. Matter of fact, believe it or not, I had breakfast this morning with George Brett, and we both talked about, hitting line drives instead of, dipping and ripping and trying to hit a home run all the time. It's like, hey, whatever happened to a good old single or double,
I miss those days. Do you think they'll ever come back?
They will have to come back. If they don't, you're going to see a lot of guys hitting 220, 240, which is not what a Major League Baseball player should do.
No, and it's I'm not going to lie, Will. It's the reason I brought you here because you and I are both baseball lifers, and I think you and I are both pained by what's happening here. And it's fair, I can't get away from the game, but it is very hard to watch some of these games.
You know what? It is. Being a ball player and been there, done that kind of thing, it pains me to see guys kind of like give up at bats instead of sticking your nose in there and grinding it out. And, that was, what all the old schoolers did, and I learned from them. And now you see guys just legitimately give up. And, and the pitcher just dominates him. It's like, no. He's good. Don't get me wrong. But you need to bury your face in there and make yourself a tougher out.
And you mean by giving up, just kind of mentally cashing it in? And
exactly. Yeah, I'm down, 2 strikes, and I'm still going to try to swing out my ass and strike out and absolutely do nothing for the team. If you get out there, you bury your face in there, You see 4 or 5 more pitches. The guys behind you in the lineup get a chance to see velocity, and they get a chance to time what the pitcher's doing, that kind of thing. And then on top of that, everybody has to hit with 2 strikes.
Yep.
Everybody. And so if you get to the point where you panic or you give up, that's not the kind of ball player I want. I want a ball player that's going to grind it out.
Absolutely. Jeff Fry talks about a lot that a lot of players are supposed to have multiple swings, especially for 2-strike adjustments.
Well, in the middle of an at-bat, you can adjust. If you're ahead in the count, let's say 1-0, 2-0, 3-1, something like that, you can go ahead and get your A-game swing off. Get down on the bottom of the knob and, try to drive some stuff. But, you get down in the count 0-2, 1-2, something like that. All right, now I got to grind, which is what we're talking about. You need to come up off the bottom of the bat a half inch or so, be able to handle the bat a little bit, tough pitches, try to foul them off to get back into the count, and, basically make the pitcher throw a few more pitches and maybe make a mistake that you can handle.
Hit them where they ain't, too. And, hitting.
That's the old Tony Gwynn theory. I love it.
I think one of the greatest hitters who ever lived. So are you.
Yeah.
And I actually mean that with all sincerity. 40 years ago was one of the most incredible Giants teams of all time. They didn't make the playoffs, but they went from 100 losses to an 83-79 season. What was that camp like under Roger Craig, and how much of an impact did he have on you as a player?
Oh, good Lord. Roger became my dad away from home. And, he's a great mentor. He did a lot of stuff seat of the pants. And so you had to be on your toes. You had to pay attention. You couldn't miss signs. We did a lot of aggressive stuff. Did a lot of stealing, a lot of hitting and running, a lot of squeeze. So you had to be on your toes. And it made for a fun brand of baseball. And like you said, we went from 100 losses in 85 to winning 80-something games in 86. And in 87, we're in the playoffs. So, they're taking over the team, and then our transition with veterans and a mix of new guys was pretty special.
Well, Will, thank you very much for joining me.
You got it. No problem at all.
Pleasure.
Enjoyed it. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Will Clark, and Will, thank you very much for doing this. That was quite a fun interview, and with a man, one of the greatest hitters of all time, in my opinion, a man who should be in the Hall of Fame and hopefully someday will be, and a man who most of all has so much knowledge that he can pass along to hitters. And, definitely listen to and watch and or listen to his podcast with Eric Burns on the No Filter Network. And it's hard. It's rough to watch today's game. Me being the disgruntled baseball lifer that I am, I can't get away from it, but it is hard to watch a lot of the games today. And he's right. It's going to have to come back. And that's why I'm really hoping Buster Posey does well, because we saw at the beginning of last year, and then for whatever reason, the Giants abandoned it. But this year, it looks like the Giants are going to be putting a lot of emphasis on small ball. And if the Giants can really have one of the best offenses in the league, perhaps even the best offense in the league with mostly small ball and a pair of power guys, that could really reverberate throughout the rest of the league. That, hey, we don't always have to hit a home run. There are other ways to play the game of baseball. Where I blew it there was I wanted to get into more detail about the camp, the spring training camp of 1986, which, by the way, the weather here in Arizona, this has been one of the hottest Marches ever here in Arizona. 1986 was also one of the hottest Marches in Arizona because I looked up old weather data by March weather data by year here in Scottsdale, Phoenix. But so similar weather to 1986. But I wanted to get into it because Mike Krukow had a great story where in 1985, in the 1972 to 1985, in those 14 years, the Giants had 4 winning seasons. It was a miserable stretch for the Giants and their fans. And it bottomed out in the mid-'80s. In 1984, they lost 96 games. Frank Robinson was fired in August. Danny Ozark finished the season. Then Jimmy Davenport became the manager in 1985. Giants would lose 100 games. Roger Craig managed the final 3 weeks. So according to Krukow and his story, Roger Craig and Al Rosen, who was the general manager, they were brought in for the final 3 weeks. Or at least Craig was for the final 3 weeks. I know Rosen may have been brought in earlier. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But Craig was definitely brought in for the final 3 weeks. Rosen was there, but may have been longer. So Craig is there for the final 3 weeks. And when he got in there, almost every guy in that clubhouse had at least one of three things at their locker: shotgun, fishing pole, golf clubs. As in, off-season starts in 3 weeks, and we're looking forward to getting the hell out of here. And Mike Krukow talked about how for several years that there was a lot of, in the first 3 years that he had been a Giant, Krukow signed before 1983. Came up, I think, in 74. It was with the Cubs till 81. It was with the Phillies in 82. How in his 3 years with the Giants, there was a lot of bitching. There was a lot of moaning and complaining in the Giants clubhouse. So Roger Craig comes in September of 85. He sees all the guys with the shotguns for their getting ready for their hunting trips, the fishing poles getting ready for their off-season fishing trips, the golf clubs getting ready for their off-season golfing trips, and just broadcasting like, hey, we're looking forward to getting out of here in 3 weeks. So Craig just sat back, observed, said and did very little other than just manage the games. So when they come to Scottsdale for spring training in 1986, Roger Craig addressed the team. And he said, I noticed a lot of bitching, a lot of moaning and a lot of complaining when I was here at the end of last year. Anyone who wants to bitch, moan, complain, there's the door. We're not going to have any of that here. Not in my clubhouse. We're going to come up with our own brand of baseball, and we're going to use Candlestick Park as a true home field advantage. For those of you kids out there today who don't remember Candlestick Park was situated in a massive wind tunnel between a hill and San Francisco Bay on the southeast corner of San Francisco. So you would get just massive winds, swirling winds, where if you had a pop-up, any pop-up could fall. So one of the first things Roger did was he said, we're going to run out every pop-up because those things could fall in and those could turn into doubles or even triples. We're going to use Candlestick Park as a real home field advantage. And, as Will was saying, Roger did a lot of things. One of them was the steal second. When the catcher would throw to second, runner at third would break for the plate. Another thing Roger would do would be pitch out on 2 strikes. See if they could entice a runner to try and steal second and nail him at second base. Roger was a brilliant baseball man. Bruce Bochy had some brilliant moments as the Giants manager, but Roger, of all the Giants managers, may have been the greatest, at least in the San Francisco era, may very well have been the greatest strategic manager the Giants had in San Francisco. And the Giants went from losing 100 games in 1985 to winning 83 games in 1986, and I think Will Clark missed some time with an injury in his rookie year. Of course, he homered off Nolan Ryan in his first at-bat at the Astrodome on opening day. In the first inning, I believe. The Giants then in 87 won 90 games and got within a game of the World Series, won 83 and 88, won 92 and 89, and went to the World Series where they were swept by the A's and won 85 games in 1990. They had 5 straight winning seasons. And there is something very special about spring training, where you come into camp and you're 0-0, just like everyone else. Anything can happen, and the Giants are kind of rebuilding right now. Sam and I we could talk about what the official terms are. They're not all out right now. But the Giants are rebuilding a way a team should rebuild, which is they're rebuilding the farm system, but they are still trying to go all out on the season at hand. I would not trade Joshua Gonzalez for Tyreek Skubal. I would trade him for Paul Skeens. With that being said, I'm not going to blow up the entire farm and the entire future 4-1 guy, especially when all you have besides all you would have beside him and besides him in the rotation would be Logan Webb and Robbie Ray. I mean, we'll see what we can get out of Landon Roop this year. I'm not saying Landon Roop's not a major league caliber pitcher, but he is far from proven, and he's not really a third starter. And Sam made a great point about some of the bullpen guys, Matt Gage, Budo, how they, Spencer Bivens, how all of them had their moments. Eric Miller, but they're not exactly reliable. This is going to be at best a shaky bullpen. Now, but this is such a special time of the year where anything can happen, and you're 0-0 like everyone else. And what I love about what Buster's doing is, he's rebuilding the farm system. And I do think probably the big long-term and Buster's not going to admit it, but I suspect, though I can't crawl into his brain, that Buster's biggest long-term priority right now is building the farm system. Tony Vitello is very much kind of a long-term kind of move. Very much we're going in a different direction. It's why it's cynical of me to say this. Giants fans can hate me all they want for this, but there is a reason why I'm kind of happy last year's collapse happened, because it made Buster realize this is not an all-out team. This is not an all-out win now at all costs team. And Buster finally, when they brought Buster in to replace Farhan after 2024, they were still kind of going in the same direction. Felt like, okay, we've got some good players here. We just, we're a few pieces away. It took the collapse last year. It took going from double digits over 500 to all the way under 500 for the third time in 4 years for Buster and company to realize, okay, we need to go in a completely different direction as an organization altogether. And that is precisely what has happened in the last 7.5 months. And I think it's going to get some big things. Now, we were talking about Will Clark and Tony Vitello and the coaches. And they are going to work very hard to help this young group of guys. There's going to be another guy here who's going to do what he can to help. Perhaps pass on some wisdom, but also do what he's done for the last 42 years, and that is throw batting practice to Giants hitters. He was there from Will Clark through Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent, through the championship years, through the Farhan years, and that, of course, is a man who has become a staple in Giants baseball, very quietly become a staple, an old left-hander by the name of John Yandle. I sat down with John yesterday to ask him about just his thoughts on the Giants, the game, and how he got started. Take a listen. All right, Stephen here, and I am joined by John Yandle. John, you have been throwing batting practice to Giants pitchers for how?
42 years.
42 years, going back to 1984.
1985 was my first year. So, yep, with Will Clark and Dan Gladden and all that crew.
I think a lot of people know you most because you were Barry Bonds' batting practice pitcher.
I was, yeah. Barry liked hitting off me. I mean, I'm kind of consider myself the Giants' batting practice pitcher more than any one person. But if there is any one person to be known for, it'd be him. And yeah, I threw at him a lot, and it was great.
From what I've heard, they call you Cutter John, and that you had a specific cutter. Is that true?
Yeah, old nicknames die hard. That was back in the candlestick days where the wind would blow against you, and any kind of different spin on the ball accentuated with the wind, and so my ball cut a little bit, and so that was, I think it was probably 86 was when I was named Cutter John, and it's lasted all these years.
So how did you get started doing this?
So I had a good friend who I played with in AA ball who got traded. I was with the Angels back then and got traded to the Giants, and he made it up kind of for 1 year. And I was visiting him in the locker room back when you could do those things and go in, just with a pass. And some of the coaches had sore arms. They knew that I threw and asked if I could come out and kind of the rest is history. I just been showing up ever since.
Every year. Were you here during the COVID pandemic season?
I was. In fact, I think I'm probably the only one to watch a game with nobody else in the stands. Um, and they had the film crew there, but no fans. And then they ended up putting the fake fans in the seat. But yeah, and piped in noise and all that to make it a little bit more realistic. Because the first few games they played was just dead. I mean, there was nobody in the stands, no chairs, whatever. So they tried to mimic it as much as they could to where, a little bit more like a real game, although certainly not.
You've been here under Roger Craig, Dusty Baker, Felipe Alou, Bruce Bochy, Gabe Kapler, Bob Melvin, and Tony Vitello. And you've also been here. There's been so much change in the game throughout the last 42 years. What do you feel about a lot of the changes in baseball, and how different is it from when you started?
Well, it's quite a bit different. I mean, back then, a little bit because of the coaches had issues with their sore arms, things like that, but it didn't really make any difference if you're right-handed or left-handed. I threw every day when they were home. Back then, I didn't travel when I first started with the team. But, it's gone from that to pretty specialized now. And a lot of machines now. They have the traject machine, which is, simulated, the pitcher of that day that, can throw different pitches at different time from the 60 feet. So, you don't really see an arm. I'm a little biased to batting practice with live arms, but yeah, it's different people like different things. So.
And have you had fun working under Tony Vitello?
Yeah, it's been great. There's a whole new energy with really the whole staff. So, you come out and just like the players, I feel like I have to prove myself to them to show that I can still throw, and age doesn't really matter. And luckily they haven't changed the location of home plate for years, so I can throw strikes and know where I'm throwing it. So it's just a matter of kind of keeping the arm in shape and being able to hit spots when the hitters want you to throw inside or outside or whatever it may be.
Well, good thing the Atlantic League experiment of moving the mound back a foot is dead. So, John, I hope you're able to do this many more years. You've become just staple in Giants baseball, and thank you very much for sitting down and talking.
No, it's great talking to you. Okay.
And my sincere appreciation to John Yandle. As I said, he's become a true staple in Giants baseball. And, Barry Bonds did love hitting off of him. And this guy, not a lot of people may know who he is, but this guy has been a part of a lot of not just Giants history, but baseball history. All right. I'd like to thank Will Clark and John Yandle for sitting down with me. I'd like to thank Sam for co-hosting with me for the majority of the show. This has been the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe 2026 Giants Spring Training Show. We will have more coming up. I'm hoping to do a prediction special on Tuesday, March the 24th, the night before opening night. Thanks to everyone who listened. Have a good night, and I will talk to you soon.